Good morning, everybody. Begin Living Like a Boss here. My name's Milt, and this is July the 23rd of 2024. Shovel Fest is getting closer, so we're going to keep ourselves occupied for another couple of days. We're going to get started on the steering clutches of this old Army Cat. Meanwhile, this is the last of the 3 pony motors. I got one that's pretty much complete and ready to run in the C-can. I got another one that's mostly parts, and this one here is mostly parts. I'm just going to finish buttoning it up, put a couple of nuts on the heads and manifold here, and we'll just put it inside the C-can, and then we'll get after that steering clutch. And just like that, the bench is cleared off. So okay, let's get after that steering clutch pack. It's going to be a fun, hot afternoon. There's the job for the day. Both of these steering clutches are rusted and still attached to the bevel gear or the axle. So we're going to have to devise something here to break this apart. And what I've done before is I had it mounted up into the Clark in the forklift between the forks, and it seemed to work all right. It was kind of yanky or janky, whichever the word is, but we'll make it work. Hey, Tiggs. Boy, sometimes, maybe even all the time, that big heavy rust can grab a hold of anything and hold it firm. We got that off, so now the big nut. Sometimes you gotta do what has been done before. I think maybe we better get the heat over here. Okay, let's try that. Progressing up to a little bit heavy duty chisels and whatnot. This is an old blacksmithing hammer. Put a lot of meat to it, and I think we got her on the run. Well, it's going to take a while, so we'll bring you back when we get that off. Okay, got that chiseled off. That took quite a while. It's cooled off enough to touch and spin it off. Did quite a bit of damage with that chisel, but it's heavily rusted in there, and I don't believe I have a socket for that, but I'm going to clean this nut up and take it down to the tickle trunk. I just might have it. I'm not sure. So we're going to check that out before we take apart the other one. Okay, this is highly unlikely to work, but I got the clutch pack sandwiched between the forks, a couple of chains over the 35-ton jack, I believe it is, with a beam up on top, double chained. All we got to do is pump on her. I don't know. Seems all right to me. Well, as expected, it's prone to failure, so we'll set her up again. Okay, bright and early the next day, I did go down and into the tickle trunk, and I found the socket for that big nut. So I'm going to run it on till it's almost home. It's a tight fit. Just about didn't want to come off there. It's pretty close quarters between all them springs. It's a homemade nut socket, but it works pretty good. Got different holes in there to turn it with a bar. Anyway, don't know if we can see it from the camera angle, but we only got one thread of the nut sticking above the shaft. I think that's going to be deep enough, and we got a gap in here. In case that does break free, it'll be captured in there, and then we just got to remove the nut. To make space to get make sure the base of the jack is above this flange area, in my tickle trunk, in the same toolbox, special homemade tools, that great big washer spacer, plus a homemade pushing plate that goes down on the keepers of those springs. And then I've got two of these here large flat bars. That's going to bring it well above the surface of that housing. And then of course got the 35 ton jack on it. Now we will engineer a little bit different planking here. Hopefully this is going to work a little bit better. I got a set of blocks ready at the back of the forks. I'm going to put that on there. I'm going to put my first chain here with a boomer, keep that tight and stationary, and then my second chain will just go over top in this area, and it's going to work. Okay, I think a little bit more stable situation. I got it blocked and trapped into the forks at the back, big beam over top, another chain over top and near where the jack is on the outside edge. The tighter this jack pushes, the more it's going to pull the keep the forks in underneath the pack here. And we're just going to go ahead and see what happens. I'll just move the camera back because of anything, I don't want the camera busted. Okay, I started up the forklift and tilted the forks back so they're kind of level with the ground. And then it's hard to get. I got to have this chain as straight up and down as possible, but I got it a little bit forward to draw it into the back of the fork. And this one here is just holding the end down, and it's trapped inside the forks. A little bit of pressure on it now, so we'll just keep on going until something happens. I don't know how much tension or how many tons I got on there, but it's I think going to be quite a bit. But I know we're not anywhere near to the maximum of that jack because it's still jacking quite easily, actually. putting a longer arm in it, not because it's hard to jack, but I figure I'll give myself a little bit of room there. Well, I think that's up to the end of the jacking capacity. This thing is so heavily corroded and rusted in there. I don't know if I'll get it with this. We might have to go up, take it into town, get something like a 50-ton on her. But we're going to let it sit here at this position while we have a coffee. And tap it a few times, so see what happens. Okay, I left that sit there for a half hour, an hour or so, and beat on the flange here with a sledgehammer, try to throw some vibration into it, and it still hasn't released. You can see there's still a gap between the nut and the flange down there. And this plate that I put in between the jack head and the beam has been heavily bent into the beam, so I know there's been a considerable amount of force in there. And what I think I'm going to do now is I'm just going to turn this around and back that other nut off, get that loose, and talk to my buddy Coleman in town there. I believe he has a 50-tonner. And he did my very first steering clutches, popped them off no problem, and I did the second one, but I think the second set of steering clutches were already opened up just prior to the retirement of that machine. So I don't think they were not rusted at all. They were nice shape, and I don't think they had them pressed on as heavily as this one here in particular. Okay, after wrestling with that one steering clutch and realizing that it's way over my tonnage capability of my homemade press, I'm just going to run it into the town there to Coleman's mobile mechanic, and he'll press her off. But meanwhile, it's going to be a few days, it's going to be a couple weeks. Hello everybody, we're interrupting this video to bring you breaking news from the Tractor Porn studio. Earlier today, we run in our steering clutches to Coleman in Nakmob, and because we couldn't break them apart, but he managed to do so. What we have here is the pieces. The two steering packs are off to the side, and the main bevel, gear, and shaft. These bearings are in pretty good shape, both sides. But the bearings, throw-out bearings on the steering packs are done, but I have new ones for that. One of these, Coleman said it only took probably like 30 tons or whatever, wasn't quite sure. But the other side was really tough to get, and he says it took upwards of 50 ton on his porta power, according to what the gauges were telling him. So it was a tough push off. But we got her done now, and we got these things back home here the same afternoon. Really happy with that. All right, back to your regular programming. Weeks before I get back on the Army Cat, because off to Shovel Fest, and further on down the road will be Sturgis. So it's going to take a little bit of riding. It's hot. The valleys are on fire and it's smoky. Don't know if it's the wisest thing to do to leave the property here at this time, but that's what we're going to do. We're just going to go on our little trip and hope for the best. That's all we got for now. We'll catch up to you later.